After this, we had Bray Wyatt versus Roman Reigns in a Hell in a Cell match. Um, so this storyline has been going on for a while, and it's sometimes been really compelling, and other times not. Like it started off really good when Bray was kind of harassing uh, Roman Reigns using his daughter. That was pretty creepy, and then it kind of just lost steam after a while when it seemed like they started playing it very safe. Then they started bringing in the other Wyatts, and even that didn't really excite me too much. Same with when Reigns brought in Ambrose. Then when Braun Strowman got on the scene, I was intrigued for a bit, but eventually that got old too. And then I liked how they eventually brought it back to where it was just Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt, and then everybody else kind of went into the background and had their own little angle until they obviously canceled that. But I kind of liked how this build up to this match ended, even though Roman Reigns delivered some pretty horrible promos in the process. It still caught my interest, and this match I actually thought was really good. I've read some reviews, and it seems like people are divided. Some thought it was just mediocre, others thought it was good, just as I did. But I really liked it, and I liked how you really felt like these guys were really trying to hurt each other. You felt that tension was genuine, and it wasn't just them, performing a match. There were some. At first, it was a little slow. Like I wasn't all that invested during like the first third, maybe even up to half. But it gradually grew, and I'm not just referring to the spots. And granted, the spots were very, very brutal, and at times made me a little uncomfortable because it seemed like this was just a bit too risky. Like the big moment is when Roman Reigns spears Bray Wyatt through a table from outside the ring, but he's like on the ring. So it's this big, dangerous spot, and it looks like he really banged up his head pretty bad when he landed. But otherwise, I just liked how the ferocity just kind of grew. The hits looked like they became much stiffer, and I just felt the emotion, and that's what I like. And then it also helps that a match like this needs to be violent, and I thought it was cool too how it was a long match. It went on for over, I think, 20 minutes, and the fact that Roman Reigns could keep my interest throughout that entire time. It does show that he has grown a lot as a performer. Apparently, he's going to be competing for the World Heavyweight Championship next, and I'm okay with that now. I just hope the fans don't reject him. But I thought it was a really good match. It had everything that I desire out of a good wrestling match, even though. Could they have used the cell a little bit more? Sure, but even then, I thought it added like this feeling of claustrophobia to it. So like for example, when they set up that table outside of the ring and they go through it, there's not a whole lot of room for them to brace themselves. So that those cramped quarters made it dangerous on its own. So I didn't really think the cell was as needed as much as others have felt. So yeah, great job. For all the problems I've had with this storyline, I thought this was a worthy closing chapter to this very long-running feud. Next, the Tag Team Championship. The New Day versus the Dudley Boys. So the writers really ran out of material for this story. First, like the first month, there was a lot of inspiration, a lot of clever writing. I was always intrigued by their showdowns. And then the second month, it wasn't as good, but there was still some good stuff. And then now it's like they barely have a feud. They have a match together. And I say this because it seemed like the New Day was more interested in John Cena than they were in the Dudley Boys. And the Dudley Boys didn't get as much mic time as they had when they first returned. So they do the predictable, have John Cena team up with the Dudleys in order to take on the New Day. And I find that to be a little, I don't want to say lazy, it's just I've seen that kind of gimmick done too many times for it to really matter to me. So that was a shame. And I think what they should have done for this match, they should have added like the primetime players or somebody. Granted, the primetime players have kind of been knocked a few pegs down thanks to the Wyatts, but also it would have been really cool if they somehow got, the Wyatts involved in this match. I think that would have been a really interesting dynamic. They would have worked really well. But as it is, this feud just ran out of steam, and this match, it's fine, but it's still just the same match we've seen the last two times. I had no problem with the pacing. There were some sloppy spots, but there were some cool moments too. But at the same time, we've seen most of those cool moments in the previous matches. The best part is when Kofi Kingston tries to pull at Eddie Guerrero, and he takes the trombone and throws it to Bubba, and then he falls back down and acts like Bubba just hit him, and the referee's like, I don't know what to do. That was actually pretty funny, and I liked that bit. And I'm glad that the New Day retained, even though I wouldn't have blamed WWE for putting the belts on the Dudleys. But I really do think that the New Day is something special right now, and you really need to... This is the time where you could really build them into their own legend. The Dudley Boys, they don't really need that. Even though I'd be, once again, if they'd had one and got the belts put on them, I wouldn't have complained. But to me, the New Day, there's a big opportunity there for WWE to make them into something huge. And they need a good, long reign, in my opinion. So yeah, the match was fine, but if you've seen the previous matches, you don't really need to see this one. The Divas Championship. My throat's getting sore. Charlotte Flair versus Nikki Bella. This is some other shit writing. The Divas Revolution is kind of dead to me. It's granted, I think it kind of died a while ago, but the booking's really confusing because it seems like it should be focused on Charlotte versus Nikki. But what is it focusing on? It's focusing on Charlotte and her tension with Paige. Now, whether they're going to become friends or enemies, at least at the time of this pay-per-view, they keep going both ways, so you're not really sure. There's supposed to be some suspense there. That's perfectly fine, except right now Paige is stealing the show. Every time she's on screen, she is the most entertaining. And that's surprising because for a while I thought Paige had sort of run out of momentum. But it just goes to show that anybody can catch fire, even if we've seen them for quite some time, even if we're very much used to them or overexposed to them, because you just need the right angle, that right moment in order to shine. And Paige is really kind of the best thing in the Divas division right now, followed by Sasha Banks. And yet neither of them are in the title scene. And it's like the whole Charlotte versus Nikki almost seems like a subplot, just a piece in this major puzzle where Paige is at the top. And that just very odd. That just, to me, says that the booking surrounding the Divas division has been really bad. They keep putting Brie in matches too. That annoys me on its own because Brie, I don't think, is a horrible worker. I think she's just kind of mediocre. But why is she getting so much screen time? I'd much rather them at least break it up between her and Alicia Fox or something. I'm just tired of seeing Brie, taking on Charlotte in particular every goddamn week. So yeah, like the writing about surrounding this was really bad. But I actually thought this match was pretty good. Their previous match where Charlotte dethroned Nikki, I thought was really bad and very slow. The psychology sucked, and it was very anticlimactic considering that, Charlotte has just, dethroned Nikki, who was the longest reigning Divas champion now. But this rematch was much faster paced. The use of psychology was a lot better. I believe Nikki targeted Charlotte's back, and then Charlotte targeted Nikki's knee. So that was, I thought, pretty well done. There were still a lot of sloppy moments, and the selling was pretty inconsistent. But it still felt like a bigger match, a more epic affair. I liked how it was more competitive. It wasn't just Nikki dominating throughout most of it. One of the reasons I don't think Charlotte's standing out very much as champion is it seems to me like she'd be more comfortable playing the heel role or maybe even just a wild card because, for one, isn't it like her tagline genetically superior or something like that? That's something that heels would say. That seems very odd for a babyface to they'd want to actually have that line, used for that babyface. It just seems odd to me. And some of her promos felt a little petty, like when she's talking to Paige and she's criticizing Paige for all this stuff. And I'm not saying Paige doesn't deserve criticism, but it was awkward to me because she's saying things like, I don't think you respect me. And the whole issue, the reason why Paige is so bitter and angry is she doesn't feel like she's getting any respect. And there's actually some truth to that. She's been sort of overlooked, even though she is the one who was fighting the good fight long before these women got involved. She's saying, Paige, you make it all about you, and yet Charlotte's sort of doing the same thing. So it just makes it hard for me to sympathize with Charlotte, and I just, she's so big, and she looks like a dangerous woman. She towers over all of her competitors, and I feel like she should not be presented as the underdog for that reason. But yeah, still, the match was really good. This would have been not really good, but it was at least just good. Nikki kept up well, and I think it would have been a much better match for last month. I would have much rather this been in place of their first bout, because this one doesn't feel as important because it's just Charlotte defending her belt. It's not, her finally bringing down Nikki. But still, the quality of the match was good stuff.